up, folks? On the Average Angler. We are back for another one, and this is officially going to be the first episode in our beginner Welcome to Bass Fishing series. So we're going to start out with, I think, what should be the obvious, and that's rods and reels. When I started fishing, it was much simpler than what it is now. You had graphite rods and you had glass rods. You used glass rods for crankbaits. Not everybody did. A lot of us did. And you used carbon for everything else, or graphite for everything else. Nowadays, things have come so far. $150 rod today, I spent $400 for years and years and years ago, because there just wasn't a lot of competition. You had to buy certain brands in order to get that kind of stuff. Moving on, rods come in different actions. First, let's start by how to read what a rod is. Probably grabbing a specialty rod isn't the best thing to do first off. So let's go with a non-specialty rod and say IQ, which is Quercus 744, which is 7 foot 4 inches, 4 power. Then the H there for heavy. Okay, so 744, C for casting, H for heavy. Now most companies are going to have similar style numbering systems. Okay, this one here, just about every company has one, but some companies' ratings are different. IA 734. IA is for Irod Crusher. 734C for 7 foot 3, 4 power casting, heavy. And then you'll see there fast action right here. For the most part, most iRods only go to fast action. Fast is going to be the bend in the rod. So basically where it really locks up. Okay, fast is going to be more towards the tip. Moderate's going to be deeper down into the blank. Now typically your crankbait, any reaction type rod or treble hook bait rod is going to be more to the moderate side. Now this here happens to be an Irod 733V. Any idea what V means? Vibrating jig. Okay, it's gotten so popular. This one you will see bending down much further into the rod. It's also a medium heavy. When throwing moving baits like the chatterbait, square bills, rip baits, you need a rod that will absorb a little more so that when the fish jump, they can't throw those baits. Now, it's not as much of an issue with a vibrating jig such as the chatterbait, but it is with crankbaits, your treble hook top water lures, you know, your single hook stuff, buzz baits, spinner baits, chatterbaits. Those three are pretty similar. For those, you want a little rod absorption when the fish sucks that bait in so they can get it really well. Whereas if a rod's too stiff, fish eat by sucking in. They suck the water to pull it in. Well, if the rod's too stiff and won't give up, they may not get all the bait. Okay, they still may, but they may not. So typically we have some give there, and it helps absorb when the fish you're fighting them and they jump. Okay, you got more rod load. It unloads when they jump, comes back. But those kind of bigger baits, glide baits too, for instance, you want to have the rod absorption because it keeps the line tight. They can use the weight of those baits to shake it out. That's what they're doing when they're jumping and shaking their head, is trying to throw the bait. And then we have spinning rods. Ratings are going to be the same as far as fast goes, but generally a spinning rod is going to be a little softer. Okay, so my Irod spinning rods are 1 and 2 power, and they do go up to 3. But it's not as common to see a 4 power spinning rod as it is in the casting rods. Now some companies have 5 powers. Irod has a couple in their Bubs flipping stick, and maybe some of the punch rods. But we also have a 7'6" called the junk rod that is moderate, okay? That one's really good for throwing those smaller glide baits. So when you're looking for rods, pay attention to what it is and then think about what you want to do with it. And just because somebody says something's a chatterbait rod doesn't make it the best chatterbait rod for you. Some of my suggestions in beginner rods, and the reason for this is versatility. So somebody who's getting into fishing and they can only afford a few rods, because let's face it, this stuff's expensive, prices add up. Most of us don't go out and buy 10, 12 rod outfits all at once. We piece them together. So to me, the 734 has always been one of the most universal rods. You can do just about anything with it. I don't know that I would necessarily want to throw crankbaits on it, but you could. You can throw spinner baits, you can throw buzz baits, you can throw the chatterbaits, you can throw a jig, you can throw a Texas rig, you can throw a frog. For example, another option, wrong rod, 744 is also known as the Bass Warrior's workhorse. Now the Bass Warrior is one of Irod Pro staff members, Mr. Fernandez, but it's called the workhorse because he literally has a bunch of these on his deck and does just about everything with them, okay? It's a great all-around rod. It's just a little longer than that 734. And then the Quercus is a little bit nicer model, okay? It's got the cork handle. You see, I don't take my plastic off until it rips, and then I'll take it off. With the 744, a little nicer. It also comes in a split grip now. For those that don't know what a split grip is, that's split grip, that's full cork. Okay, kind of self-explanatory once you see it, right? For a spinning rod, pretty much every company is going to have something in that 702. 702, 712, something like that, right? Remember, the first two numbers are length. The latter number is the power of the rod. 702, there you see my shaky head from yesterday, right? Shaky head, drop shot, weightless stick baits, dart head, Nico rig. The list goes on and on and on. Tube baits, little tube baits. 702 is the universal spinning rod to me, all right? If you have more questions about rods, feel free to drop a comment down there. I'll do the best I can at answering for you, okay? Rods get very, very specialized. I find that maybe what one company says that's specialized in, maybe I don't really like it for that technique, right? Everybody's different, and as you get used to things, you'll develop your own taste in rods. I like stuff that's universal so that I don't have to carry all 100 rods with me. I pick out the ones I think I need, and they cross, okay? Like that Bass Warrior workhorse. Next, we have reels. Reels, in my mind, are a lot simpler. One, I did a budget reel video a while back. If you want to watch it, search the channel. It's on there. A reel, one, is going to last you a very, very long time. Two, much like rods, although not as drastically, good reels are much more affordable. And nowadays, in the $100 price range to $150, you can get a very solid reel. It's going to last you a long time. It's actually the price zone that I stay in most of the time until recently. Okay, this case it's Daiwa Tatula. The difference between the regular Tatula and the SV, in my opinion, is the SV. They say you can't backlash it. I've backlashed it, trust me. All you gotta do is hit the trolling motor with your bait. I did it yesterday. First cast. If you have issues with backlashing, or if you fish in the wind a lot and you're gonna be throwing baits into the wind, the SV or in the Shimano DC helps with that issue. I will put links in the description for everything. What you get when you spend more money on a casting reel, generally, it gets lighter and they cast smoother, okay? Not always the case. If you're at the $200 price point, they're all gonna cast pretty darn good, okay? Gear ratio. Gear ratio for best all around. I grabbed that one, wouldn't you know it? 7-to-1. It's gonna be upside down because I'm doing this in the house because of the lighting. But there you go, 7.1-to-1. So call it a 7-speed, okay? Different companies have different numbers. Could be 7.2, could be 7.3. Let's just call that a 7-speed. Then there's an 8-speed, and there's a 9-speed. What that means is the higher the number, the more line you take up per rotation of the reel handle. In my opinion, the 7-to-1 is the best all-around gear ratio, okay? Majority of my reels are 7-to-1. I've got some 6.3s and I've got some 8s for specialized presentations and techniques. Getting started, 7-speed reel works great. It's all I used for a long time. With spinning reels, I'm not gonna get into gear ratios because number one, we don't have the same options. What I am going to say is by buying a quality reel on the spinning side, you get a better drag. I prefer a 3000 size reel. This is a Daiwa Ballistic 3000. It's in that $200 price range. Very smooth, okay? It's plenty big enough to house enough line for me. Has good sized drag washers in it. Works very, very well. Spinning gear, if you have to pick somewhere budget-wise to put more, I put it towards a spinning reel because 90% of the time we're throwing lighter line on spinning reel and we need a good drag. Back in the old days, the reels had a switch and you could back reel. There aren't a lot of those still around anymore that I know of. I advise, and I'll put a list of spinning reels that I like in the description. I will try to put some budget ones as well. $200 price range go a lot further as far as longevity and less frustration. All right, so if you're gonna be spending money on rods, take care of them. Get yourself some rod gloves. The Tournament Series is a nice thin neoprene, just slides over the rod. It protects your rods from breaking eyes off. The eyes are what your line goes through, right? Now, it's not gonna protect it if you slam it in the car door or slam a rod locker on it, but normal wear and tear, say you had it leaned up and it falls, it's gonna protect you there, okay? So I do recommend make that small investment. They're 10 bucks or less. Get yourself some rod sleeves. Next, we're gonna get into line, then we'll start going down some terminal stuff, and then we're gonna get into the fun stuff, which is the tackle. Sean the Average Angler, if you're enjoying this content, please click the like button. This is a special series. It's not gonna get a ton of views, so those of you that do enjoy it, please let it be known.